My name is Elizabeth Melson, and I'm running for Virginia State District, Senate District 28. I'm a mom, I'm a farmer, I'm a small business owner, I'm a trauma-informed yoga instructor, and I'm a farm manager here at Off the Grid in Sperryville. I'm talking to Chuck Jackson today from Mad Rap Reporter and Green Journal, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
What life experiences will help you become a good state senator?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think life experience is really important. I think that you don't have to, have former elected experience to run for office. That's part of the reason why I'm running. Is I want to inspire other regular people who have been through things to run also. So other women, other parents, other business owners. There's my rooster making his introduction. And I think my experience as a volunteer reform advocate will really help me, because I've been going down to the General Assembly for the last 6 or 7 sessions to either advocate for things to help the people or against things that would be harmful, policy that would be over-regulating to farmers. I've worked in election reform space, working towards policy for small farmers. I've served on Virginia Farmers Market Association Board and Virginia Hemp Coalition boards. I've also, I'm a member of the Rappahannock Board of Social Services. So that's my volunteer and advocacy and board service. But I think other life experience, going through the criminal justice system, it's actually to my advantage, because I have a look at what policy does to people, how people are impacted when they go through the corrections system, through the investigative and the court system, and how that can be improved for the better, how we can get better programming into the correction system so people actually have the opportunity to reform and get through their substance abuse issues.
The social services, you were appointed by Rappahannock County Board of Supervisors last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago now,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And mental health is a big part of what's lacking in the criminal justice system.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so just across the board, the industry, both the correction industry and mental health, there's a lack of providers. So it's really challenging. I did the mental health first aid responder training, and I had friends that were directing me to people in need in the community who were going through active mental health challenge. And when I was trying to support that person, ongoing, said, what do you need right now? How can I help you? And that person experiencing the challenge said, I'm on Medicaid, and I need, to be with a mental health provider, and the waiting lists are 3 months long. There's very few providers nearby that accept Medicaid, and she was looking, within the region, not just our county. So we've got to find a way to recruit people into mental health services, whether that's career changers or young people, getting them into the social service fields and the mental health fields early and interested in it early.
The changes this year with the hemp laws in the state, after the state just a few years ago promoted everybody to grow hemp, and y'all grow hemp, at least, do you still grow hemp here?
We don't still grow hemp,
right,
because of those laws. So you just hit to the heart of one of the big reasons why I'm running. I was involved in the Virginia Hemp Coalition. Here at Off the Grid, we grew hemp for 3 years and processed it and turned it into CBD wellness products. And Virginia has now gone more restrictive in regulation than federal law. And we're seeing, as of July 1st, we're seeing Virginia hemp businesses leave the state. And these were small farmers. They were mom and pop shops on Main Street. They can't keep up. They can't keep up with the regulation. They can't risk the penalties for non-compliance. And they're going to DC, they're going to North Carolina, or they're just going out of business. And that's really opposed to what Governor Youngkin is saying about businesses, right? He's trying to promote business in Virginia. He's trying to make the regulatory environment friendly to businesses. But this is the one area where it's gone the other way. And we fought this bill. We fought it last year. We fought it in a special session. We were literally standing on the stairs of the Virginia Capitol meeting with legislators, and really receptive legislators that were like, what do you want? How can we help? And we said, we want this bill stopped. And they stopped it that day, but then they went back through budget session, and they made some regulations through the budget, which isn't legislation. The people don't have the input. And then, they solidified that this past General Assembly session, despite, large opposition from farmers and people and consumers. So, that's an area that we really need to work on. And I think that the state is going to see some civil action on that. So, stay tuned.
Speaking of the state, this is August the 19th?
19th?
Yeah, I believe. We're doing this interview on August the 19th. General Assembly was supposed to have a approved budget by June 30th.
Yeah.
That's required by state law. The only saving grace is this is the second year of the biennial, and so they technically have the budget from last year that they're using right now.
Right.
If you get elected as our state senator, what will you do to try to alleviate so this doesn't happen again?
We're in a surplus, right? I mean, there's no reason why we can't work together and figure out how to spend that surplus money. Our schools aren't funded yet. There's opportunities we could legalize the recreational cannabis and create even more revenue. And, look at states like Colorado. They've funded their schools. They have programs for mental health. They have programs for substance abuse disorder. We could be doing more. I would encourage, bipartisan cooperation. We talked about it before we started filming. As an independent, I want to be that bridge between the Republicans and the Democrats. I have the flexibility to move among different members of the party and find where we align and find where we have agreement. And I think that's just as important in the budget process as it is in proposing and passing or failing legislation.
We've also talked previously in your previous work and political work, you align as a Republican.
Do I align as a Republican?
Yeah.
No, I am an independent.
Okay.
I think there's areas of agreement with Republicans and there's areas of agreement with Democrats.
Okay.
But I truly am an independent.
Okay.
And I find that because I will be invited to a Democratic event and I'll be invited to a Republican event. And sometimes that solidifies that, I really am just an independent.
Okay.
But I think that if anybody criticizes my campaign, it might be a highly partisan person pointing fingers and saying, no, she's actually the other party, and the other party saying the same thing. So I'm an independent. And I've worked cross-partisan coalitions on reform issues. So I have contacts in all of the parties. And it's been really encouraging because I'll have somebody reach out that's with a major party on either side and say, I'm really supporting you, but they may not necessarily publicly support me because, they want to keep their place in their parties.
Your top 3 legislative goals if elected?
So it keeps growing as I get, feedback from the voters in the district. It keeps growing, and it changes based on things that happened recently. I lost a good friend and mentor to a car accident on 29 recently, and I think that changed my priority a little bit, because I think that bumped up local authority. It bumped up local authority because we've dealt with it here in Rappahannock, right in front of this restaurant and farm, VDOT issues. We've gone to the Board of Supervisors and we say this is an unsafe area. We want this passing area to be removed. And Board of Supervisors has been very helpful. They've asked VDOT. VDOT does a study. Study may not even include a weekend, but they lay whatever equipment down and they do their study, and then they come back and say, no, we don't think we need to remove that passing zone. Well, the 29 corridor between Warrenton and Oakville Road, we know there are so many fatal accidents. And thank goodness that VDOT is doing a survey. But like I just mentioned, sometimes they do a survey and nothing changes. So I would like to give authority back to the localities to be able to make traffic pattern changes if they so desire. But prior to that, my top priorities were mental health access, small businesses. You know, we already talked about the out-of-state medical cannabis versus hemp wellness, and how big money corporate interests are writing policy and, you know, carving out the competition. And I mean, you can look at BPAP, you can look at the donors, you can see who's giving to both sides of the aisle and both chambers, and how that plays out in policy making. So policy that is pro-small business, truly pro-small business, campaign finance reform, term limits, and reforms that increase competition in elections, not stifle it. So instant runoff or ranked choice voting.
We're standing on a bridge over the mighty Thornton River, which brings up clean water and conservation type issues. The governor has pulled Virginia out of several environmental things in the past couple of weeks. Talk a little bit about those type of issues.
Yeah, so I'd have to read a little bit more about what he's pulled us out of. But in general, in our area, I know that we want to protect our view sheds, we want to protect our water, we want to protect our properties, but also have some, property rights. So I know a lot of people are opposed to, say, that large solar fields. But I think that we should incentivize rooftop solar for businesses and for homes, because that's about energy independence and alleviating some of the carbon emissions.
Off the grid obviously has solar.
Yeah, and it's just a clever name. We're not technically off the grid. We'd love to be off the grid, but the batteries, not quite there yet in the technology. And we've got to hear that there is criticism of the minerals that are used in these panels and the batteries. So I would love to see some investment in emerging technologies. I'm going to bring it back to hemp. You know, there's a company that's working to use hemp fiber to make the batteries and the solar panels. And if we could invest in more of that, we can make clean energy even cleaner. So, looking at creative solutions.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.